my friend, I want to ask you, have you been listening to some of my podcasts for a while and identified for yourself all the areas that you feel your business could be better in? Maybe you just are so busy you haven't yet mastered the working as much as you like bit. Or maybe you're just not bringing in the money, like you're struggling with the income, or it's just not enough. Well, it's time for us to have a conversation. In the show notes, there is a link to my evolution call. If you're a dance boss and you are ready to take action, let's have a chat and let's see where I can take you. Hello and welcome, lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me today. We're going to talk a little bit about systems, but in particular, a certain way to approach our systems. And I call it the if this, then that procedure. So what I mean by this is there's a lot of things that go on in business. There's a lot of behaviors that happen when we interact with our students and our parents and our customers. And sometimes we know what to do when this thing happens. So, for example, when someone makes an inquiry, we know that we're going to get back to them and give them the information that they have inquired about. So we know that if they do this, then we're going to do this. So the customer reacts by asking about classes. We react back by giving them the information. So it's that if this happens, then that happens as a result. And we do this a lot in our business. What happens if someone complains? You probably have a complaints procedure, or you phone them, or you reply to their email. What happens if somebody wants to do a new class? So if they want to do a new class, then this is what happens. And that's all just naturally happens, doesn't it? Like, you don't sit down and design that process. Like, if they do this, then we do this. And it's just obvious. But there's a lot more to it than that. When this happens, then that's the result, is a whole bigger picture. And this is where we often drop the ball. So, for example, what happens if someone makes an inquiry? Well, obviously, we reply to that inquiry. Then what happens if they don't reply back? What's the next step in the procedure? Is the next step, well, if they don't reply back, they're obviously not interested, so I just forget about it and move on to the next person? Or is the next step, if they don't reply back, that I then send them a follow-up email? And then what happens if they still don't reply back to that? And you can keep going with this little ladder, if you like, of steps. If they don't do this, then this happens. If they don't do this, then this happens. If they do this, then this happens. So say you send them 5 or 6 follow-up emails, and eventually they get back to you and say, yeah, really sorry, we decided it's not for us. Thanks for keep following up, but it's a no. Now we can take a different step. Now we take the step that is something along the lines of, they've said no, so remove them now from my Trello board, or remove them now from my mail list, or remove them now from my follow-up sequence, because they've finally given you an answer that means you now take a different action. So I'd love you to think about this in terms of some other areas of your business, some other processes. So let's say, for example, you are entering your kids for exams. So the first thing that you've probably done is given parents some form of invitation that you would like their child to take an exam, and you've given them all the information to go along with that. So that's the initial step. So then what happens after that? Well, if they don't reply, we're probably going to send some kind of follow-up email or catch them in the corridor or try and speak to them. If they do reply and say, yes, that's great, where can I pay the money? Then the next step would be, oh, you pay it here. And then what happens when they've paid it? Now they go onto a list somewhere. Do they now get put into a folder? Do they now go onto your Trello board? Like, what happens when they have paid? What's the next step? But what happens if they don't pay? What happens if they haven't paid and your deadline has finished? What happens as a result of that? And having very clear processes, not just in terms of this is how it works, but the what happens if question really is where the mastery in your systems starts to come in. Because I think there are so many places where we potentially drop the ball or miss out on opportunities because we had thought about a certain level of steps, but we hadn't thought about all the, but what if they do this as part of the steps? And when you actually start to do this and you go deeper into the at every stage of the process, what happens when they react like this? And what happens when they react like this? What happens next? What does that trigger? What does that mean in terms of what we do, what my staff do, what my automations do? And so I want you to pick out 5 or 6 different things that can happen in your business. And then just like making a family tree, I want you to draw it out like a little chart. So if this thing happens initially, what happens next? This happens. But then if they say yes or they say no, if they reply or they don't reply, if they take action or they don't take action, what happens as a result of that? And it carries on to like kind of building this family tree until you have every single eventuality covered. Now, to do this with every single thing that could happen in your business would probably be like a year-long project. What we can do it is we can look at this in terms of the really important parts of your business. And for me, this is all around your funnel, your funnel. And when I say funnel, this is what I mean when you first attract somebody new into your school. So this would be around your inquiry process. Someone messages you on DMs, somebody sends you an email, someone inquires via your chat widget on your website, somebody fills out a form on your website. There's lots of different places that people inquire. So start by looking at that and then go, right, so if they inquire there, who picks that up? What happens? What do they say? And if they don't get back to us, do we then go and go down another route? And I think the whole big process of somebody has reached out to you because they have to take that initial step. Like we do the marketing, and that hopefully is like a magnet. It attracts people to then step forward, put their hand up and say, hey, over here, I'm a mum, I've got a 10-year-old, I might be interested in this thing that I've just seen. That's them stepping towards you. But once that's happened, you need to have a really thorough process in place. I am just going to pause here for a second because I just want to check that you know all about my new software, Dance Business Solutions. And if you don't, then I would love to show it to you. You can book a demo where I will show you around the magic that I have created in Dance Business Solutions, and you can see just what it will do for your business. So from websites to selling events to managing your customers, managing your inquiries, creating surveys, planning your social media, like it does a gazillion things. And they're all very exciting because I have pre-built most of it for you already using my wisdom and expertise as a dance business coach. So go to dancebusinesssolutions.com as soon as you've finished listening to my podcast and click on book a demo. And I cannot wait for one of my team to show you around. Thorough process in place to capture every opportunity of that becoming a lifelong student taking 6 classes a week that stays for the next 15 years. And so if we want more of those students, we need to make sure we have the most thorough, marvelous process in place. Because from the minute someone shows interest, all the way through to them becoming that lifelong student, we need to make sure that we are doing our absolute best to pull them into that journey. And that doesn't mean dropping them or losing them or them disappearing in a crack somewhere in our process. Because, there's a reason they came towards you. There's a reason they raised their hand. There's a reason they messaged you or contacted you. It's because they are interested potentially. And we need to make sure that we don't let any of those lovely opportunities go. And honestly, I can't tell you the number of potential fabulous lifelong students that you have lost over the years because you haven't had this process really nailed down. And the great news is, once you have mapped it all out, what happens if they do reply? What happens if they don't reply? If they don't reply, what does that look like? If they do reply, but then they stop replying at this point, what does that look like? Like when you really map it out in as much finite detail as possible, you're probably going to discover that a good 75% of it can be picked up by automations, by software that can decipher where they are in this mind map that you've created and push them to the next place. And that's where we're going with technology. Like, that's how clever systems and software are becoming. Now, the thing is, you've got to learn how to create all of that first. So that's where a lot of us get stuck. We're dance teachers, we're creatives, we love to teach dance. We don't love to sit for hours and hours and hours and learn how to use software. And I get that, I understand that. As you probably know by now, I have a software company that does all of this systems and processes. And you do have to be committed to sit and learn to do how to do it all. But equally, if it's really not your thing, if you really have no desire or energy or motivation to learn and put these things into place, then please just pay someone to do it for you. Like we have done for you service, where we will build it for you. So you have the most amazing system all built out for you. And you just need to learn the bare minimum so that you know how to get people into that software. But it could be another piece of software. It could be somebody else, but please, please, let's not lose any more potential wonderful future students, because that one little crack in your process could have been a student over the years that might have spent £15,000 with you. And if we think of how many we've had over the years, it kind of is a bit eye-watering to think how much money we've lost. I know for one, there were so many students that fell through cracks before I learned all of this stuff. And if I added up potentially how much income that could have generated, like it's crazy. I'd probably be sipping cocktails on a super yacht somewhere. So let's see if we can not kind of go, oh, I've never done that in the past and I've lost so many students. Let's look forward. Let's look at all the students that we are going to keep because we can sit and do this. So sit and think through one process. I urge you to start with your inquiry process, but then you could go on to your exams process. You could go on to your show processes. There's so many different areas that you can look at in your school where we can do if they do this, what happens next? But if they don't do that, then what's the result of that? And when you start to look at things in this way, you will create much more clarity on what your current processes are or aren't. It's probably going to uncover a whole load of areas where there's real gaps in your systems. Or maybe there's not gaps, but it's all in your head. It's not out there for somebody else to be able to work with. So have fun trying to do this. Maybe just the other thing you can do is to get a parent or somebody that works for you to ask questions. So if I wanted to buy a new piece of uniform, where do I go? Well, you go to the website and you click to buy it online. Okay. And what happens if it's not in stock? Well, it's going to come up and tell you it's not in stock. Or is it going to mean that I have to email someone and tell them it's not in stock? Like, how does it all work? So get a parent to sit and ask you a whole bunch of questions and get them to be really awkward customers. Like tell them, oh yeah, but what if? But what if I don't reply? What if I forget to bring the money in? What if I don't sign up on time? What if I don't pay my bill on time? Like, get them to be that really awkward customer and really challenge you on your processes. Okay, very systems heavy podcast today, but one worth doing, especially around your inquiries. All right, guys, take care. So, I wanted to tell you that this episode is kindly sponsored by Sally at Dance Studio Marketing, who is your go-to solution for growing your dance school through the power of social media. So if you're feeling overwhelmed at trying to attract new students, at Dance Studio Marketing, Sally helps dance studio owners just like you to leverage the power of social media and paid ads to bring in a steady stream of students, which of course helps you to achieve more balance in your life. So if you're ready to grow with less stress, visit sallyprendergast.com, or you can connect with Sally at Dance Studio Marketing on your favorite social media platform today. My clients are getting fabulous results using Sally. So let's get those ads going and let's get your school growing.